Hey guys and girls, welcome back to Heiko's Garage. I know some time has passed since I posted the last part of the Airhead Top End Reseal series. I was kept away from YouTube due to an ongoing home remodel project, but now we're getting into the final stretch of that, and I will try to pick up the pace and post content more often. In part 1, we took the cylinder heads off. In part 2, we made ourselves a wrist pin removal tool and removed the cylinders and the pistons. And in part 3, we're going to inspect parts, clean parts, and see what we find and what we need to fix. All right, let's get back into it. So before I sign off, I just wanted to show you. These are upside down. The ripped section needs to be against the case. This end needs to be over here. If they would have installed this correctly, I probably wouldn't have had the massive oil leak down here. But hey, it's good exercise, Ryan. Here are all the bits and pieces lined up. And here, let's go over to the other side real quick. Let me use some light on here. Because of, there's the cylinder head gasket. Because of that cylinder head gasket and the poor alignment of the holes with the push rod tubes, or the push rods, I have this huge wear mark on both of the push rods, and I'm not happy about that. So now I have to find another set of push rods. I do have a few sets in my... Yeah, let's take a peek in there. Can you guys see in there? See the camshaft down there, the lobes? And here are the lifters, the back end of the lifters. You also want to inspect the hello, focus, the eye of the connecting rod, the bearing surface, so to speak. Here's an oil hole again. Got to make sure they are clean. And then overall, make sure your studs are tight, seated all the way. Here on this side, actually, there are a couple flat spots on the threads right there. I definitely will run a dye over this, just to make sure they are all nice and smooth and clean. And then, of course, your sealing surfaces and overall cleanup, so you're not getting all the gunk in there. But yeah. So that's that for now. Let me find some piston rings and push rods, and then we're gonna reassemble this. In the next few clips, you're gonna see all the non-mechanical methods that I've tried to remove the carbon on the top of the piston. Initially, I tried chem dip for a few hours. I just drowned my piston in that stuff made by Berryman. It absolutely didn't do anything. Then you see me use my little Harbor Freight ultrasonic cleaner that's heated. It's filled with WD-40 Specialist Degreaser, which is compatible with soft metals like brass and aluminum. At the end, I'm using a brass brush to kind of help the situation, but that rather polishes the carbon than take anything off. So after using the brass brush to try to remove the carbon, I switched to a mixture of ATF, automatic transmission fluid, and acetone, which some people prefer as their penetrant or penetrating oil to loosen up rusty bolts, seized parts, and that kind of stuff. So I mixed that up in my little bowl, put the dome of the piston right in there, and had it sit there for a few hours, and nothing happened. So carbon was just as durable and as hard as before. And then my last method that I tried was using oven cleaner, which is quite a toxic thing. Smells horrible, probably not healthy to inhale any of those fumes. It is kind of designed to take off carbon or burnt in stuff from your oven walls. So I figured I'd try that on my piston. It did work slightly. So every time I would take it out of the oven cleaner, I could wipe off a little bit of some carbon with a rag, but it's just tedious and
long hours of dipping it in there, and it would have taken days probably to remove the hardened layer of carbon off that piston. Don't want to forget to mention that I tried a few more chemicals to remove the carbon. I used M Pro 7 gun cleaner and a few different types of brake cleaner. The gun cleaner slowly dissolved the carbon, but it was really slow. It would have taken me hours, so I stopped trying, and the brake cleaner did absolutely nothing to carbon.
Hey YouTube, so final conclusion of my decarbon attempts of some piston and cylinder heads. As you can see, my cylinder heads are not much better than they were before. There's still carbon on there. I've tried to find a non-mechanical way of cleaning those up, and apparently I have special BMW very solid carbon on there. It's this special version that only appears when you have a German motorcycle, I guess.
So now we're getting the big guns out. The tops of the pistons are just going to be decarboned with a wire wheel on my bench grinder. The cylinder heads, the inside of the cylinder heads are going to be decarboned with some scrapers and also a die grinder that has a wire wheel on it or wire brush on it. I intentionally leave the valves in there. First of all, the cylinder head side or the combustion chamber side of the valves need to be decarboned as well, but they also protect the valve seats that are part of the cylinder heads. And then once it's roughly decarboned, I take the valves out and then do some more cleaning.
Alright guys, in the process of disassembling the heads, I most likely will not change parts as long as the valves check out or the springs check out. I just want to be able to lap in the valves before I put all new seals and gaskets and whatnot on there. And sometimes you just have to call the ladies downstairs, because
multiple ladies?
The ladies, because I only have this one spring compressor, which is kind of like the universal overhead, and it doesn't fit very well, and therefore I can't get all that much tension on the spring. But with a little bit of help and me pushing the spring after tightening it down, and this one here was probably also just a $30 or $25 part from somewhere, AutoZone or whatever. I have gloves on because I'm afraid that this all just explodes on me. We have already done 3 valves, so we already figured out how to do it with this thing. So I tighten it up as much as I can. See that the top 3 here, I don't even know if you can see. All right, a little closer. So I tightened this up as much as I could. You can see the top 3 coils there are really tight. And then the little valve keeper up there, they are stuck. So then I just, and to make sure that the valve doesn't want to fall this way, I just put a bunched up rag underneath. That's enough to keep it up. And now I'm just going to tap on this a couple times. You want to make sure you're not impacting your head with this valve. So now the keepers have come loose, and now I can push it down, and the ladies can.
Just one lady.
One lady. That lady. Oh my goodness, hold on. It's too far. The camera is kind of in the way. Okay, I'll move you over there. Let's do this again. Just a magnet. That's one valve keeper. Is it?
Yeah, it's coming. The other came out really easily.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There it is. You got it. You got it. You just need to lift. Yep. All right. That's it. So now, untightening the spring, and then you don't want to mix up parts either. You got to make sure that you keep the same spring, the same keeper on the same valve, inside the same head. So that's pretty good. What I haven't told my wife is that when we reassemble, we have to do the same thing. Here's the bottom valve seat and the top seat. That's where the 2 little retainers go in. Gotta inspect all this. You also gotta inspect. So when we take a valve out, here's the intake valve. A little grimy from me cleaning it earlier. Cleaning the head earlier. First of all, you want to inspect the edge of the valve, that it isn't broken, cracked, whatever. Then this valve has a lot of pitting, and I don't know, maybe the previous owner, someone has worked on this. The engine definitely has been apart. The pitting here, maybe they used a center punch or like a chisel to get the carbon off. Looks really ugly, but I think this is going to be fine. And then you also want to inspect those 3 little grooves up here and make sure that your little keeper, upside down, your little keeper still fits in there. Sometimes they come loose and then they eat another groove into the valve. So you got to make sure that those 3 little grooves are clean and undamaged, and that the top of the valve, that's where the rocker constantly pushes on, that's also not mushroomed out or pitted. Or so far from preliminary, just looking at it, looks pretty good. I haven't found anything alarmingly bad, other than this also has some pitting here. This is an intake valve. I don't know what the story is, but I guess we're going to be okay. Now I'm going to clean the heads the last little bit, get the last little bit of carbon off around the valve seats, and then I'm gonna lap, oh yeah, carbon off the valves too, and then I'm gonna lap those valves back in, and then we'll put it all back together. That's that. All right. You really gotta inspect those valves. They can have cracks here along the seat. So, I mean, of course, this is all just visual inspection. There's some deposits on here that not even coming off with my wire wheel. But the valve itself looks good. The three grooves look it's just never ending. One of my heads, one of the valve guides is loose. So only thing I can do now is take it out, measure it, inspect if I see any cracks, and then get an oversized one that will be in here tighter than. I don't see anything other than that. I mean, all the other ones are tight, and I'm definitely not gonna start hammering around, but they look okay. I mean, since this is not gonna go back in here, I might as well push it out like that. Yeah. So now I'm going to do, this probably doesn't have measurements on it. No, it doesn't. I'll take a micrometer. It's just the right tool for the job. So 0, okay. It's supposed to be around 8 millimeters. Yes, this is a metric micrometer. Not 8 millimeters, it's the valve stem. I'm dumb, it's 14 something. So here's 15. So we're just going to measure it in a couple spots and see what the size is. The standard is 14.06. So this one here is 14.1, 2, 3, almost 4, 14.4 almost. 14.4. So I think if I would get a standard size, which is 14. Hold on, before I make a mistake here. 14 1/100th of a millimeter. So it's 14.04. 14.04. If I buy a stock one that's 14.06, that should be fine. This has been spinning, or did someone sand this? This has been spinning in the head. Not good, not good. And then I also don't have a valve guide driver, and I don't want to mushroom this out. So yeah, 14.04. I think I would get away with a standard size and then heat it up, heat the head, cool the thing, and push it in. I hope. Oh, dang it. Immer das Gleiche. I don't see any cracks or anything. There are some little nicks here. This could be a sign of detonation or ignition, pre-ignition. There's carbon in here. This is the left side. Dang. Yeah, I don't see. I don't see any cracking, anything going on here. They come with a new circlip that has to be clipped in place. Okay, new valve seat and one intake valve. Another $60 later. But you gotta do it, right? You gotta do it right. And then I have to get the valves ground, the valve seat ground, because with the new guide, that the center of the new guide will line up with the valve seat is slim to none. We can try. We can put the new guide in, see if the valve actually fits through it, and that would be a good start. Or else we have to ream it larger. We have to get a reamer for this. Then do a gentle lapping, and if we get some sort of pattern all around, then we might be lucky and we don't have to regrind the seats. Or else that's gonna be another 2 weeks.